I want to take a moment here to talk about going against the wire. It's April 13th. Mars peaks in Aries and it's showing in the world. This is the heat of the warrior, and I can see it burning in every corner of the map. In this episode, I want to celebrate the people from America who went onto the streets holding up boards with names. This wasn't just a march, it was a physical occupation of space. From the No Kings rallies in DC to the hands off protests in New York, thousands used their bodies to say no to the concentration of power and the billionaire led policies that are trying to drain our collective spirit. I want to bow to the people of India, where thousands of factory workers in Noida experienced violent clashes with the police. They set fire to the machines and the vehicles because their wages were frozen while the world around them got more expensive. That is the Aries energy. It doesn't just ask for change, it demands it with fire. I pray for the people in Gaza, where yesterday a massive civilian mission called the Global Samud Flotilla launched featuring 70 boats and 3,000 people. This is a medical and humanitarian fleet moving against a blockade that has lasted nearly 2 decades. They are the physical bridge for those sorry. They are the physical bridge for those who have been cut off, sailing right into the eye of the storm and deliver aid and life. I want to salute the Irish. I just saw a convoy and it was relentless. Farmers and howlers blockading O'Connell Street, the port of Galway, and the Whitegate refinery. They are putting their livelihood on the line to protest the fuel prices and the taxes that are making it impossible to breathe, let alone drive. And the same fire is erupting everywhere else. In Stockholm, where 10,000 people surrounded the US Embassy to demand a different future. In Budapest, where a record turnout and massive victory rallies for the TISA party are physical dismantling 16 years of the old guard. In Paris and Berlin, where activists are blockading roads to force a break from the fossil fuels that fund these wars. In London, where hundreds were arrested just days ago for standing their ground in the streets. And this is exactly what it looks like when I talk about releasing collective trauma energy. It is not a quiet meditation, it is a war. We are connecting the stars to the asphalt, the spirit to the physical. When Mars peaks, the wire gets thin, and these are the people brave enough to cross it. The world seems like it's messed up and dark, but we need to remember one thing. They decide what we got to know throughout news outlets. Power isn't hiding in money. The power never was in the money itself. If anything, money teaches one how to be lazy and how to stay stuck inside one's own little bubble. And with these words, please hear clearly that I don't mean that money is the root of all evil, because that limited thinking used to get me staying stuck in debt. But I do say that money never holds the power people seem to think and believe. And yes, it is true that living with money in our pockets is making it a whole lot easier. However, the things that I learned because of scarcity are the things I needed to experience to gain my values, my worth, and my future. I mean, think of all the doctors and lawyers, for example. How many Indian doctors did you get to visit or to speak to? Most of the time, that are people who grew up being the children of immigrants, being the generation from the ones who came to the promised land. Their parents, their families, and often themselves left behind everything they knew, everything they possessed, and more importantly, the country where their faith, their religion, and their gods are rooted. I mean, there are footprints all over Asia and India that are massive, and it is believed that those are from Lord Hanuman himself. Probably there will be a few people who are like, yeah, whatever, but if you know what that means, then you know. And I think that people often underestimate that kind of cost. Now, it's of course not only limited to Indian doctors. I just use this one example because it came first to my mind and partly because it's seen as such a stereotype. But let's lose this Indian filter for a moment here. Immigrant parents. They teach their babies to do well in school, study hard, and work with nothing to end up with everything, while holding up the values from their own culture. And I need to take a moment here because I really do appreciate the Asian culture so much. I love how their cultures and characters often mirror their religion or beliefs, or at least in my experience. But that are calluses that don't fade, that are adapted character traits that ended up shaping 20 to 25% of all physicians in the USA alone. If we do the math, that means that there are over 200,000 to 325,000 doctors that weren't born in the USA. And perhaps more because most reports indicate that immigrants make up closer to 25% of all doctors in the US. And I would like to fuel this up a little because the babies they told to work hard, study, and achieve, most of them didn't settle for one thing. Most of those babies eventually grew up to have high representation in internal medicine, neurology, psychiatry, and pediatrics. Imagine that. The children of the generation who had nothing left but a dream, representing today a quarter of all doctors in just one country. And let's be clear here, this isn't exclusive to doctors only. This isn't about a medical degree or a high paycheck. It is about the currency of resilience. Those doctors, those lawyers, those babies, they are living proof that a dream can't be killed by taking away its funding. I am willing to go deeper here and say that sometimes the less we have in the physical world, the more we are forced to build in the spiritual and mental one. If we've lived through scarcity, our relationship with value changes. It isn't about what we can buy, but it is about what we can survive. And here is the difference because we often think of money as a destination, but those of us who started with nothing, to us, money is just a tool, a secondary energy. The real power is overlooked because the real power has always been the hunger. The world is hurting from a collective poverty mindset, the trauma of not having enough, and it's in need of healing. If we don't or refuse to change our individual mindset, then the collective energy will never change. I know it's hard and heavy, but believe me, I grew up with scarcity. Well, being kind of privileged since I am white and living where I live, but still, we need to stop looking at the zeros in our bank accounts. We need to start taking action towards living a life of abundance, which we can create ourselves. Money is a frequency attracted to those by those who don't question their worth or receiving. Money is attracted by people who fully believe they deserve it. If we can keep thinking about spending money with our depths in mind, then it only attracts more depth. That is frequency, baby. When I talk about going against the wire, I am talking about breaking the cycle of scarcity that was handed down to us. I am talking about rewriting the script that says that we are only as good as our debts. I am talking about creating opportunities, about hard work and discipline, and about responsibility over our own behavior and priorities. Ain't no penny gonna be made if you're running away. With Mars and Aries, we see that the fire is demanding that we take action. What action? As long as we stay stuck in our scarcity thinking, we are just fighting for scraps at the table we didn't build, and I fully believe that most of us don't even want to sit on that table. I always thought that the Irish have a very good sense of humor, and it shows because with them blocking the road to protest against the fuel prices, that's an amazing metaphor for the real rebellion. Because those farmers and howlers are literally blocking the roads because the cost of the chase has become unsustainable. They aren't just fighting for cheaper fuel prices, they are refusing to let a fluctuating market dictate whether their families survive. They are choosing to stand still and say, I deserve to exist without being crushed by a price tag. The real blocking of the roads happens when we refuse to let money dictate our worth. We honor the struggle of those who came before us, not by becoming slaves to the chase, but by mastering the energy of abundance. It is time to stop healing our debt and start healing. Because when we realize that our ancestors carried their entire world across an ocean with nothing but their faith and their dreams, then we realize that we are the wealth. And for everyone who did participate in those protests, I am really, really, really thankful to you. I want to give a big shout out to all of you, and I really hope that you all are unharmed and safe. Know that I send love and light towards your way, and I will pray for you if that is your mojo. um, this was Nyx. Thank you so much for listening. And if you like my content, then please hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the reactions what is the change that you start to feel like. One word, give it to me. I always read the reactions. I always react, sometimes a little bit later, but still I do take the time to react to everyone individually. And I hope to see you in the next episode. This was Nyx. Thank you so very, very, very much for listening. Remember, frequency has power, and it's proven by us. I love you. Bye.